For over 600 million people, the Ganges is the primary source of life. They use this water for drinking, for their crops, and for the rituals that define their faith. But if you follow the river upstream to its source in the Himalayan ice, you will find a contradiction. A highly lethal, man-made object buried somewhere in the frozen landscape. It is an active nuclear device, one that neither the American nor the Indian government has been able to locate since it was lost decades ago. Because the device was never recovered, the mission from the 1960s remains an unresolved radiological hazard that sits directly above modern India's most vital water system. The origin of this hazard dates back to October 1964. When China successfully tested its first nuclear weapon at Lop Nor, the sudden shift in regional power caught the United States off guard. At the time, the CIA's early satellites could not provide the constant, detailed surveillance needed to monitor China's testing grounds. They needed a physical presence on the ground. The plan was to use the Himalayas as a natural watchtower. By placing a monitoring station on the 25,000-foot summit of Nanda Devi, the CIA could intercept signals from Chinese nuclear tests. This shared intelligence goal led to a highly classified alliance, with India and the US launching a secret expedition to the roof of the world. Because the station needed to run for years without maintenance, the team carried a snap generator. This device was fueled by 7 plutonium capsules, designed to generate heat and electricity through radioactive decay for decades. A joint team of Indian climbers and CIA-trained mountaineers began the ascent, struggling to carry the heavy nuclear generator up the vertical slopes of Nanda Devi. Near the summit, the team was hit by a severe blizzard. The storm brought sub-zero temperatures and winds so strong they made further progress impossible. To save their own lives, the climbers were forced to make a choice. They lashed the nuclear generator and its plutonium fuel to a rocky ledge and began a desperate descent to lower altitude. The men survived the storm, but in their wake they left 7 capsules of plutonium-238 exposed to the elements. In the spring of 1966, a recovery team returned to the mountain to retrieve the abandoned generator and complete the mission. When they reached the rocky ledge, the equipment was gone. There was no sign of the generator or the radioactive capsules. Experts realized that the heavy device hadn't just fallen, it had been enveloped by the glacier. The weight of the plutonium had caused it to sink into the shifting ice, which then carried it deep into the mountain's interior. Subsequent search missions used radiation detectors and specialized equipment to probe the ice for weeks, but the frozen mountain gave up nothing. The radioactive core is now a permanent part of the glacier, being carried downward by the slow, relentless movement of the ice sheet. The danger lies in the longevity of the material. Plutonium-238 has an 87-year half-life, meaning it will remain highly radioactive and toxic for centuries. This diagram traces the path of the meltwater. Anything that leaks from the Nanda Devi glaciers flows directly into the Ganga and Alaknanda rivers, which eventually form the main stem of the Ganges. If the shifting ice eventually crushes the metal protective casing, the radioactive isotope could dissolve into the water millions use for their daily survival. Standard municipal water treatment is designed to remove bacteria and silt. It has no way to filter out dissolved plutonium. A leak from the buried capsules would effectively poison the primary water supply for 600 million, with no easy way to reverse the contamination. For decades, both the American and Indian governments kept the loss of the plutonium a state secret, hiding the fact that a nuclear device was missing in the mountains. Even after declassification in the 1990s, officials admitted they had no plan to recover the device. Their stance remains that it is simply too deep in the ice to find. But the clock is moving faster because of climate change. Himalayan glaciers are melting at an accelerated rate, potentially bringing the buried device closer to the surface and water supply much sooner than originally predicted. Hundreds of millions live downriver, unaware their future depends on a Cold War mistake staying frozen in a rapidly warming world.